Thanks for staying with us. Time now for Eye on Africa with me, Georgia Calvin-Smith. Tonight, the outrage over police brutality in Kenya grows ever fiercer after a street vendor is critically injured after being shot at point-blank range by an officer during Nairobi protests. Demonstrators were on the streets expressing feelings of aching betrayal over the earlier death in custody of a teacher who criticised a top police chief. Also, a ghostly sighting that raises hopes of a revival. A rare and spooky nighttime recording of an elephant in Senegal's Nokolo Koba National Park is the first sign of the endangered animal there in over half a decade. And we stay in Senegal, honouring the memory of Ndate Yala Mbodj, the last queen and the woman who was a military leader and savvy political strategist, sowing a legacy of defiance against an invading army 150 years ago. But first, in Kenya, a police officer was arrested on Tuesday over the point-blank shooting of an unarmed bystander in the latest protests over police brutality there. Now, the victim is reportedly in critical condition in hospital. But the incident happened amidst rallies which were held calling for the resignation of a deputy police chief, Eliud Langat, who was accused online of corruption by teacher Albert Ojwang at the start of the month. Days after Ojwang's posts, he was taken into custody where he was killed. Langat stepped aside, but protesters want him gone.
Protesters marched through the streets of Nairobi, waving the Kenyan flag and chanting for justice. What began as a peaceful demonstration quickly descended into chaos as police fired tear gas to disperse the crowd.
Justice for Albert!
Albert Ojwang was a 31-year-old teacher and blogger who died in police custody earlier this month. His death reignited simmering anger over police brutality. 2 senior officers and a technician have been arrested in connection with the case. And under mounting pressure, Kenya's deputy police chief, Eliud Langat, has stepped aside, pending the outcome of investigations. But the protests continued, growing more volatile as armed men on motorbikes carrying whips and clubs joined the fray.
The goons have infiltrated town, and the police are just watching them. They are watching them terrorize people, stealing from people, stealing cameras from journalists.
The situation in Nairobi remains tense. Next week marks the first anniversary of last year's demonstrations, which culminated in protesters storming Parliament.
Well, the trial of a journalist and critic of President Emerson Mnangagwa has been postponed again. Blessed Malanga's arrest on February 24th was sharply criticised by rights and media groups and added to fears of rising repression in Zimbabwe. Now, Mnangagwa was first taken into custody after interviewing a former member of Mnangagwa's party who called for him to step down. Mnangagwa's team suspects that authorities are trying to string out his detention and keep him in limbo.
The delays affect my ability to provide for my family. So I constantly have to report to the police every Friday, and also my passport has been held. So what it means is that I can't do my work as I should.
Well, Chadian farmers in Musuru are starting to notice the effects of climate change more and more starkly. A precious area that has long been unusually fertile in the midst of a dry zone, it's losing its bloom as the agricultural bounty communities have relied on for so long start to die back.
Musoro and its outskirts, a fading oasis. Ali Abdullahi, a 65-year-old farmer, has enjoyed a rare feature of this region throughout his life. Unlike most areas, Musoro has a shallow water table. For decades, this helped keep agricultural production steady, but now climate change is threatening the area.
Anyone who says that climate change does not exist is lying. What we plant no longer grows. Sooner or later, hunger will come. This year, we planted millet 5 times, and we only harvested 30 kilograms.
Hali says his land used to yield up to 2,500 kilograms of millet in a single season before the dry spells intensified about 5 years ago.
The millet field used to stretch from the east all the way over there. The sand you now see outside the garden used to be fertile land.
Agricultural resources in Musora and its surroundings have rapidly diminished. In 2021, a severe lack of rainfall triggered a drought that continues to this day. Tensions have escalated as a result, with frequent dispute breaking out between farmers. The National Agency for Support and Rural Development is tasked with resolving them.
There are now conflicts each harvest season because every farmer wants access to land for planting. When this happens, authorities request a report. We assess the damage, and then those who are responsible have to compensate the farmers who suffered losses.
Conflicts are growing as climate change continues to worsen. The advancing desert is the greatest threat to stability in Chad. More than 80% of the population relies on agriculture.
Now, for an apparition that is both very cool and creepy in the best of ways. In Senegal's largest national park, excitement is bubbling over the rare sighting of what I have dubbed, after watching the spooky footage, the Blair Witch pachyderm. Now, the nighttime images are of the endangered animal known as the ghost elephant roaming Nicola Koba National Park. And seeing one really is a sign of good luck for the species, as one hasn't been spotted there for about 6 years. Caitlin Kelly tells us more.
For the first time in years, a wild elephant has been caught on camera in Senegal's Nicola Koba National Park, reviving hopes for a species on the brink of extinction in the country. The black and white footage captured by a camera trap 6 days ago shows a solitary elephant moving through the forest at night. Named Usman after a park ranger, the elephant is known as the ghost elephant for his rare, almost mythical presence in the park. According to Panthera, who are the global wildcat conservation group and Senegal's Directorate of National Parks, Usman was last seen in 2019 and was thought to be one of 5 to 10 elephants remaining in the park, down from the hundreds that once roamed the area. Located on the banks of the Gambia River, Nicola Koba is one of West Africa's most important wildlife reserves. Home to a rich diversity of species, including West African lions, the park was recently removed from UNESCO's list of World Heritage Sites in danger, a marker of ecological progress, say the authorities and conservationists. Senegal's elephant population has been decimated by poaching and habitat loss over the past few years. So the reappearance of Usman has sparked excitement and renewed discussion among the actors in the park about how better to protect the country's last remaining elephants.
And we get to stay in Senegal to honour the memory of Ndate Yala Mbodj, who was the last queen of Walu, a former kingdom in the northwest that fiercely resisted French colonisation. Now, she was a military leader and a political strategist who sowed her legacy 150 years ago by facing down an invading army.
This statue in central Dagana is the last relic of Senegal's final queen, Ndate Yala Mbodj. In the former kingdom of Walu, she was born in 1810, into a tradition where women inherited power. During the height of France's colonial conquest, Mbodj stood up to powerful governor.
She was a woman with a strong personality, and through her interactions with Faidherbe, you can understand her deep sense of patriotism. She refused to let him settle on the mainland and refused to sell him the island of Sor. This led to French hostility, and on the 25th of February 1855, the French invaded her capital. Despite fierce resistance and over 100 deaths, she was defeated and forced into exile.
She died 5 years later. Her son became part of the French colonial administration. Today, this chapter in Senegalese history is beginning to emerge from obscurity.
Today's episode is about Queen Yalam Butch.
This research has dedicated a podcast to prominent figures in Senegalese history.
She was an extraordinarily beautiful woman with a grace and posture that was truly royal. Another defining physical feature was her dark skin and the pipe she always carried, as she smoked a lot of tobacco. Date Yala was a woman who was fearless. She was trained to fight and went to battle on horseback like everyone else.
Efforts are being made to pass on the Queen's legacy of resistance through education. In this school in Dagana, they teach children about the local heroine.
You know, in Africa, it isn't always easy for girls to be given the same consideration as boys. But today we want to promote girls. It's important to tell them about past heroines, to inspire these students to be more engaged and take on more responsibilities and strive to become better.
Historians and cultural leaders are calling for a museum in memory of the last queen of Walu.
Well, that's it for Eye on Africa for now. Thanks for joining us, though, and do so again if you can. Till then, take care.
Culture hits the spotlight on France 24.
Where are you from?
Nigeria.
Welcome to Russia.
Thank you very much. Apply to Alabuga Stad.
They come from Nigeria, Senegal, Ghana or Cameroon.
He told us there is a job opportunity over here in Russia, which is security work in a sense of maybe like in front of a bank.
Africans who are falling into the Russian trap.
But then they are saying we signed a contract to go to the war front.
Cannon fodder, enlisted with no going back.
You can't go out anywhere, even if you are going to private. The security and the military escorts you.
We entered the army by mistake. They betrayed us.
Watch Reporters, Putin's Infantry on France 24 and France24.com.